My name is Cora. I'm 32. And I've been carrying this, not in my chest for months. It's not guilt, exactly. Not even regret. More like a kind of grief no one prepares you for, the grief of still loving someone but knowing you're not yourself around them anymore. We've been together 8 years. His name's Daniel. We met at a Halloween party in our mid-20s. He was dressed as Han Solo, and I was a very bad attempt at a galaxy. He quoted something dumb and nerdy at me. I laughed, and it was just there, that magnetic thing. Back then, everything about us was electric. We used to dance in the kitchen barefoot. We'd make out like teenagers during long movie credits. He'd pull me onto his lap at bars and kiss that soft spot behind my ear when I got anxious in crowds. Sex wasn't just good, it felt like this unspoken conversation between us, one where I never had to explain myself. But over the years, that wild, stupid kind of joy got quieter. It wasn't one big thing. It was a dozen small ones. The way he touched my lower back out of habit, but not linger. The kiss before bed that turned from, I want you, into, I'm still here. The nights we'd lie in bed, me scrolling on my phone, him turned away with a podcast in his ears. We still cuddled, sure, but sometimes it felt like I was the pillow he always needed to fall asleep. I don't want to make him sound like the villain. He wasn't. He isn't. He remembers my coffee order. He makes me playlists when I'm stressed. He warms up my side of the bed when I take late showers. But I started feeling like I was aging in a glass case. Preserved. Loved, yes, but not desired. And then I booked the trip. Lisbon alone. For 2 weeks. Just me and my camera and the parts of myself I hadn't felt in a long time. Daniel was supportive, if a little wary. He kissed my forehead when I told him and said, "Be safe, baby." I told him I would. But a week before I left, I said it. I've been thinking, I started, keeping my voice casual while folding laundry. While I'm gone, what would you think about us being open? Just for the trip. Just for me. He looked up from his laptop like I'd slapped him. What? Not emotional. Just physical. I don't know. I think I need to feel something new. Or feel myself again. His face changed slowly, but completely. The kind of look that starts in the eyes and settles in the mouth. So what? You just want to go fuck someone while I wait here? That's not Daniel. It's not about them. It's about me. You think that's fair? That you can just change the rules because you're bored? I didn't say I was bored. I didn't say I was lonely. I didn't say I'd been wondering, late at night, what it would feel like to kiss someone who hadn't memorized me yet. Instead, I said, why are you so insecure about it? It was cruel. I knew it the second it left my mouth. But I couldn't stop myself. Because I wanted to hurt him just enough to make him see me. We didn't talk for the rest of the night. When he reached for me under the covers, his fingers grazed my hip and then pulled back like I was too sharp to touch. The next morning, I made coffee. He left for work. No goodbye kiss. Just the slam of the door. That was the moment. The exact second I realized something had changed. Not because he said no. Not because I asked. But because, for the first time in 8 years, I felt completely alone and, strangely, finally, free. Daniel is a firefighter, steady, dependable, the kind of man who shows love through actions more than words. He's used to saving others, to being the calm in a storm, but in our relationship, that certainty sometimes feels like a wall I can't climb. A few days after our conversation, the tension between us was like a quiet storm, gathering in the spaces where words should have been. I sat on the couch, scrolling through my phone, the soft hum of the evening news filling the room. Daniel came in from work, exhausted but still determined to make contact. He settled beside me, and before I could stop him, his hand found my knee firm, familiar. But instead of the comfort it used to bring, his touch felt like a reminder of the distance between us, a physical nudge asking me to be closer when all I wanted was space. I pulled away slightly, heart pounding, unsure how to say, I don't want this kind of touch right now. I needed to feel seen not just through skin, but through the cracks in my soul I'd been hiding. He looked at me, confused, maybe hurt, and tried again, this time wrapping his arm around my shoulder. I felt the weight of his presence, the quiet plea behind it. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. But my walls stayed up. I wanted to tell him that the silence between us was louder than any touch could fix, that I was craving conversations that made me feel understood, not just held. But the words caught in my throat, tangled with shame and fear of pushing him away. Later that night, he made dinner, his way of showing love, I guess, and we sat at the table, barely speaking. The clink of cutlery and the occasional sigh filled the space where connection used to live. I looked at him, the man who risked his life every day for strangers, and wondered how we became strangers to each other. I realized then how much I needed more than skin-deep affection. I needed him to ask how I was really doing, to listen without judgment, to share his fears alongside mine. But I wasn't sure if he knew how to or if I knew how to ask. And so we danced around it, me retreating into silence, him reaching out physically, both of us missing the mark, caught in a quiet war where no one wins. That night, Daniel came up behind me while I was folding laundry. His hands landed lightly on my hips, the way he used to, like a quiet promise. But instead of leaning into it, I stiffened, my breath catching in my throat. "Hey," he said softly, sliding his hands down to rest just above my waist. I wanted to melt into him, to feel that spark again. Instead, my mind scrambled. Was this going to lead somewhere? Did he want to talk? Or was this just habit, touch for the sake of touch? He reached to brush a stray hair from my neck, and I flinched, stepping back before I realized what I was doing. "Cora? What's wrong?" His voice was gentle but laced with confusion. "Nothing," I said, forcing a smile. "Just tired." He sighed, grabbed my hand, and tried to pull me close. His fingers pressed briefly against my lower back, then, almost instinctively, he gave a soft smack on my butt, a playful move from years ago that usually made me laugh. This time, I felt nothing. No spark, no warmth. Just a hollow ache where desire used to live. He chuckled nervously. "You're acting weird. Talk to me." "I don't know," I whispered, eyes dropping. I want it. I do. But it all feels so mechanical lately." He frowned, rubbing his thumb in small circles on my palm. "Is it me? Am I not enough?" "No, it's not you." But the truth was tangled. Maybe it was both of us. Maybe it was everything we weren't saying. As he pulled me into a hug, I let my body go slack, but inside, I was recoiling, desperate for something more than touch. Something real. And in that moment, I thought, why does everything have to turn into sex? We were sitting across from each other at the dinner table, candlelight flickering softly between us, the kind of setting Daniel had picked to remind me of when we were us. He reached across and took my hand, his eyes warm, hopeful. "Cora, I just want to understand. Why does this feel so hard all of a sudden?" I swallowed the lump in my throat, trying to hold it together. But it wasn't just hard, it felt like drowning. Like I was trapped in a version of us that neither of us wanted, and I didn't know how to say that without breaking everything. "I asked for an open relationship," I blurted, voice cracking, "and you said no. Then I called you insecure. Maybe I was wrong, maybe I was just scared. Scared that you're holding me back, scared that I'm losing myself." His hand dropped like a stone. "You think I'm insecure?" "I didn't mean it like that," I sobbed, the tears spilling over. I don't know who I am anymore. I feel trapped, and every time I try to tell you, it turns into this fight. I want to be honest, but it's like you don't want to hear me." Daniel stared at me, silent. His mouth twitched, maybe angry, maybe hurt. I couldn't tell. I felt the weight of my words crush the space between us. The romantic dinner dissolved into something raw and jagged, and all I could do was cry. Afterwards, curled up alone in the dark, I felt a wave of shame crash over me. How had I let it come to this? Was I really that selfish to ask for something so big? To call him insecure? But deep down, a small, stubborn part of me whispered, Maybe wanting to be free doesn't make me a monster. Maybe it just makes me human. Days slipped into weeks, and the silence between us grew heavier, like a thick fog settling in a room neither of us knew how to clear. I caught myself watching Daniel more often than I wanted to admit. The way he'd sit on the edge of the couch, staring at nothing, his hands restless. The tired slump in his shoulders after every late shift at the station. The way he'd glance my way, eyes soft but guarded, like he was waiting for me to say something he wasn't sure I ever would. He wasn't angry anymore, not loud, anyway. He was quieter, like the kind of hurt that sinks deep and doesn't need to scream. And I could see it. This wasn't just about my need for space or his refusal to give it. It was his own fear, his own heartbreak. I missed him. Missed us. But every time I reached for the words that might pull us back, they tangled in my throat. How do you ask to be wanted again when you've already fractured the foundation? At night, I'd lie awake, tracing the outline of his sleeping face beside me, wishing I knew how to reach him beyond the skin. Guilt gnawed at me. Was I the one who broke this? Or were we both just afraid of losing something that maybe wasn't quite there anymore? One evening, I found him on the porch, hands clasped, eyes distant. "Daniel," I said softly. He looked up, surprised, as if I'd crossed a line I hadn't dared approach. "I don't want to lose you," I admitted, voice trembling. He sighed, the weight of it settling between us. "Neither do I." For the first time in weeks, the distance felt bridgeable. And in that fragile moment, I realized I had to decide, try to rebuild what was cracked or finally let go of the love that once felt like home. That night, after our quiet conversation on the porch, something shifted, not everything, but enough. We sat together on the couch, the weight of the day pressing down on us. I didn't say much. Neither did he. Instead, Daniel reached out and pulled me into a slow, careful hug. His arms were tentative, like he was testing if I'd still let him in. I rested my head on his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart beneath my ear, a small, steady reminder that some part of us still existed, still wanted to try. He pressed a soft kiss to my forehead, a gesture stripped of expectation or demand. Just presence. "Let's take it one day at a time," he whispered. And in that fragile closeness, I felt the first fragile thread of hope, that maybe, just maybe, we could learn to hold each other differently. Not perfect, not the way we were, but honest. It wouldn't be easy. The wounds were still raw, the past still shadowing us. But for the first time in a long time, I believed we could find a new way forward. Because love isn't just about holding on, it's about knowing when to bend and when to heal. If you had asked me a year ago what I wanted from love, I'd have said passion, excitement, the rush of something new. I thought desire was about fireworks and grand gestures, that it was something you could hold on to forever if you were lucky enough. But what I've learned, painfully and slowly, is that desire isn't just physical. It's the quiet understanding in a glance, the courage to say the things that scare you, the patience to stay when everything inside you wants to run. I asked for space, for freedom, and I called him insecure when he said no. Maybe I was wrong. Or maybe I just didn't know how to say what I really needed, to feel safe inside myself before I could feel safe with someone else. Whether Daniel stayed or left, I realized this. Love isn't about possession or perfection. It's about showing up, even when you're scared. It's about being honest, about holding space for both joy and grief. It's about knowing that sometimes the hardest thing you can do is stay, and sometimes it's walking away. I'm still learning what it means to want, to be wanted, and to want myself most of all. And maybe that's the most honest kind of love there is. So, if you're listening, if you're caught in your own tangled heart, remember this. The deepest desire isn't to be seen by the world, but to be seen by yourself. And that's where everything begins.